February 24th, 2023 will be a significant day for Godsmack fans because this will be the day in history that Lighting Up the Sky, the 10th studio album, was released. Sully Erna of Godsmack, the man who's called this the most personal album of his career, has joined us for a deep dive into Lighting Up the Sky. Sully, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, man, let's get started right at the appropriate point. Number one. Right from the start, you and I rips you with a synthesizer. It builds for like almost 24, 25 seconds, and then erupts with the explosive pounding presentation you would expect out of a Godsmack song. Considering this is a personal album, and it also kind of runs through your entire career and life during your career, when I read the lyrics, it sounds like a relationship story. Is it, and to who?
It is, but it's just like any great Hollywood script. If anybody knows anything about the formats of movies and how they've been built over time, the same script is written over and over again because it's proved itself to work, which is boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. And sometimes girl could mean your career, your hobby, your sport, whatever your passion is. But that's kind of the thread. And of course, it always ends with a resolution. And sometimes the resolution is unresolved. So the beginning of this record, You and I, really begins the journey of how we find love in our lives through a relationship, through our career, through our best friends, our family, and how good it makes us feel when that kind of giant love supports us and makes us feel like the men and women that we are.
Track number two, Red, White, and Blue. It read and sounds like an indictment to American politics, like you're flipping a middle finger to tribal politics.
Listen, we've lived through some crazy years recently, and that song is the next piece of the puzzle. As this person, we'll just call it a third person for now, even though we all know that these songs are pretty much written about things that have affected me on an emotional level personally, whether good or bad. After we've talked about, finding love in your life, I wanted to talk about the times that we're living in as we go through some of this stuff. And it really is just a reflection of realizing what a great country we live in and how proud we are of it, even through our faults. It's part of our history and what's helped us grow to be better people. With the exception of the extremists, there's way more good people in this country and on this planet than there are bad. It's just the bad people bark a little louder and we stay a little bit more reserved and quiet because we're human and we're humane. So it's, it was, part of it was within my frustration of being tired of hearing either side and the extremists on either side of the fence here, but just making a stand to say, listen, I'm proud of this country. I'm proud of my flag. I'm proud of what it represents. I'm proud of the Constitution. And I don't think it's fair for anyone to play God and silence us when what we hold our pride to is our freedom of speech.
The song Surrender, that was the first release from the album. It's also one that there's been so much written about. Everyone has wrote the whole, it's a breakup song, it's a relationship song, it's the waving the white flag song. But was it for you? Did it end up being a catharsis?
It's one of those things that, listen, I've been on this planet now for over 50 years, and I've lived through some tremendous relationships that have been some of the loves of my life and some of the most crazy downfalls that have spun me out of control. And the bottom line is, as you grow, sometimes you just start to appreciate the things that we should be grateful for and try to just surrender to the things that aren't worth our emotions or fighting anymore. At some point, there's no fight left. And we want to just cherish the memories and honor the people that have passed through our lives. And surrender is exactly that. It's about surrendering to the troubles that we face at times when we're in relationships. And sometimes they just don't always go our way, but it doesn't mean that we can't still treat each other with kindness.
One of the things that stood out to me, Sully, is it sounded like almost like you were giving the advice that every relationship, there's only two ways they end: happily ever after or the end. And the ones that end are the ones that once you can put it behind you, take the lessons and move to the next one. Was that part of the thought process about the growth that comes from a song like Surrender's Meaning?
Well, I'll tell you this much. One of my favorite sayings is, there's two of them. One is, love is giving someone the power to destroy you, but trusting them not to. And that's a pretty heavy quote, because we give all of ourselves to somebody at times in hopes that our heart is in their hands and that they'll be careful with it. And the other one is that I've learned that all relationships have to fight. There's going to be disagreements. There's going to be arguments. There's going to be, things that we think about differently. But trust is the most important thing, because you can't truly love someone until you fully trust them. Agreed?
Agreed.
The only thing is, trust can only be established by how well two people fight. And that's something that no one's ever heard before, I don't think. And if they have, then they've grown a lot. But it's really easy to love when you're in love. It's really easy to show that kind of affection and emotion when things are great. But in the times where you're missing each other, and I mean missing like firing,
Misfiring.
at different angles, misfiring, yeah. Those are the times that we still have to practice kindness and love, because in those times when someone's already down, we don't want to kick them. We want them to know that even if we disagree, we still have their back, and that we love them, and that we can always revisit this even when we choose to disagree with each other. And that's how trust is established. So I'll say it again, trust can only be established by how well two people fight.
With What About Me, we're now 4 songs into the album, and you're really making Tony work for it. So the theme sounds like it's questioning, why am I working so hard to please everyone? Almost a cry of, what about me? Now, how crucial is Tony's guitar work to the accompaniment to the vocals with the emotion you're trying to put into the interpretation of the lyrics? And it's a great example in this song, What About Me?
Well, first of all, let me just say that you're right. Tony completely crushed it on this record. He shines more on this album than he ever has. And I'm so proud to hear the work that he did on this record. And I really hope he gets all the acknowledgments for it, because he really stepped up and was there for every good. And when it comes to his solos, they are incredible on this album. And it's why we extended a lot of them and just let him go. And I always think that we do our best to match the music to the emotion of the lyrical content, because it's important. And in this song, it's a cry for help. It really is reflecting on my life at times when you've put yourself out there so many times for so many people, and you've done it unapologetically and fearlessly because you truly care about taking care of the ones that you care about the most. But there's times where you leave yourself behind, and we have to always remember to vent that when we need to, and to take time for ourselves to fill our cup back up, because if it's always half empty, we're no good for other people. So we have to monitor that, and we have to balance our life by putting the efforts in to show the people how much we care about them, but we can't forget about ourselves in the meantime.
Track 5, Truth. It's a real pace changer. The depth of the emotions and the way you present them reminded me a lot of your solo album, Avalon. Now, this sounds like a really personal song, Sully. So what led to it?
Oof. Well, it is very personal. It's very raw. It's extremely vulnerable. And it was a giant chance that I chose to take in hopes that people not only can see the growth of the band and allow us to just create incredible music, even when it comes in a ballad form, but it's a situation that I was going through as I was writing and recording this record. So when I laid this track down, for one, it was probably the toughest song I've ever had to sing in a vocal booth. I mean, I won't even try to hide it. I broke down at least 3 times that we had to stop because I was still processing it. It was so new and so raw. But I also feel that there needs to be honesty in our music and in my lyrics, because people will call bullshit really quickly. So if you're going to choose to write about something this deep, then it has to be real and it has to be honest. And that song, I think, speaks for itself and gets to the point in the album where you start to learn why the relationship had problems through a betrayal. And those are the hardest ones to get past sometimes.
That's indeed a very personal story. So congratulations, because it's a beautiful song. It's so well done and crafted. Like I said, it reminded me a lot of Avalon, which I thought was a highly underrated album that you should have got a lot more credit for, because it was such a deviation from Godsmack, even though it still had some of the honesty, like the stuff you did with the acoustic material over the years. On track 6, Hell's Not Dead. There's a metaphor here, because in any vision, hell's not a living entity. So what is this hell all about?
I think that's just a part of the album and a part of the journey that I needed to explore, to just come to a realization that, we're not always strong enough to be happy through dark times. And it's okay to sit in the dark sometimes. It's not okay to take it to the point where we self-destruct, but sometimes we have to sit in the darkness and just reflect. And when you're there, it really hurts. And you start to almost sarcastically laugh about it, because how many times can we go through it? How much can the human body endure? And in that song, it's really just about saying that, if there's a hell, I know it's something that is alive and well, because right now I'm sitting in it.
Track 7 on Lighting Up the Sky. What a passionate song. When I first heard Soul on Fire, I had 2 visions. One, that this sounded like thundering Godsmack, the kind of song you would expect not only to hear on a Godsmack album, but on the radio too. Then the other vision, I thought, boy, this would be a good song for dancing sky-clad around a fire at night under a full moon. And right before you do that first time of "Let's Get It On," there's some real passionate emotions in Soul on Fire. What was the direct inspiration that creates the crafted song here?
So now we're into the part of the movie that after love is lost, after you sit in this darkness, after you've come to the realization that it's time to move on, sometimes when you're looking for it the least, something comes along that re-inspires you. And those are the times that we have to be strong enough to reach down inside ourselves and find that inner strength and rise above it again. And whether it's through a relationship or whether it's through the realization of the people that surround you, my band, it's all about desire and wanting something so bad that you would be willing to set your soul on fire for it, because you want to live again so desperately.
Interesting, you would say that at the point of the movie, because when you move to track 8, Let's Go, this has got to be the most optimistic song on the album. In fact, 2.5 minutes in is about a 2.5-minute instrumentation bridge that's a little unique for the way Godsmack has constructed songs before, because then it leads to the crescendo and the exclamation point. Is this the song, the part of the movie where we have got behind the crisis and now the resolution is approaching?
Well, it's certainly a realization that now that life has been breathed into me again, it's time to get up off your ass and go, right? And the things that I know the best that have always healed me is this bittersweet of the road and what I do with my band and the career. Because it could be the most beautiful place in the world to be out there, but it can also be very dark and lonely if you're in the wrong place. But the whole journey of being on the road and being a touring musician and being a road warrior all these years is something that I never take for granted, and something that I know I need in my blood. It's just a part of who I am. It's a part of my DNA. So it's, it's motivation to tell myself that, like, okay, it's time, and we don't know if it's going to always be great, but this is what I do. This is who I am. And this is the next step for me.
Lighting Up the Sky, track 9. It's appropriate you would say what you just said about the previous song, because when you hear Best of Times, it sounds like it could be the soundtrack to a buddy flick, a road flick. And it's very much reflective of the personal journey of Godsmack. Is this a love letter to the rest of your band?
Yeah, it sure is. Listen, how can you be with 3 other guys for almost 30 years and not find a love and a brotherhood in there? And to be able to think about everything that we went through, how many hurdles we've jumped over, how many mountains we've climbed, how many times we were knocked down, how many times these guys picked me up and were patient with me, even in the times that I couldn't be, even in the times of my arrogance and ignorance. All those words needed to come out in that song because I needed them to know that it's humbled me in a way that I want to own up to all the imperfections that I have as a human being. And these guys really were my rock the whole way. They allowed me to lead them. They trusted me to lead this team and be able to capture this dream that we've always wanted, all of us as musicians. This is what we've done since we were little kids. And to be able to do it at this level is just such a beautiful thing. So how do I not tip my hat to them? It's important that they knew that they are one of the most important things in my life. And I honor them for that.
Here you are now, just a few days beyond turning 55. And on track 10, Growing Old, it's a pretty sensitive side song, and it sings of some regrets. It also reads very much like a love letter, but not you'd expect in the traditional love letter. So it seems like a love letter to all kinds of women in your life, not just the partner, but others as well. Maybe mom, child. Who are you singing to in this?
This song is solely about the absolute love of my life, which is my daughter, Skylar. And, as I sat one day and realized about how much time we lost in our relationship, but how much she supported me over the years for doing the things that I needed to do to provide for this family the best way I knew how to, and wanted to give her a better life than I've ever had. It's such a rewarding feeling to know that I've been able to do that, but it's also such a hard thing to understand at times and accept, because I've lost a lot of years with her. And I guess now that I've seen her become a woman and move on with her life and have an amazing relationship that she's in right now, it was a reflection of me sending a message to her to say, I'm so proud of you to see the woman that you've grown to be. So go out and be the best version of you for that person that you can be. But just don't forget about your dad along the way, because I'm here now, but I want to just remind you that I won't always be here. And I hope that we'll have enough time in this lifetime to be able to create enough memories and enjoy what we have while we're here.
We come to the end of the album. Godsmack's 10th studio album, Lighting Up the Sky. The title track concludes it. It's been said this is going to be the final studio album, so in many ways, the body of work has come full circle. Has this song given you the satisfactory enough bookend to be the last recorded Godsmack song on the final album?
You know, it's a really great question. And once again, I will start answering that by saying I've lived a very long life in the short amount of time I've been on this planet. And if there's one thing that life has taught me that I absolutely know 1000% now, is that I don't fucking know anything. And every time I think I have it figured out, it humbles me very quickly by throwing me a curveball. So you can never say never. And I'm not trying to put some kind of fake optimism or hope into the fans' thoughts that we're going to be coming out with something. Right now, the right thing to do and what feels right to us is to end this here. It's not the end of the band. It's just closing one chapter of the work we've been doing in the studio and creating music, and opening a new chapter in our lives to be able to spend time playing shows, doing what we really love to do, because that's truly the reward for all the hard work that we do, creating, writing, recording, mixing, mastering an album. It takes years of our life, and we want to be able to enjoy what we've earned now, and also understand and accept that we've arrived in what we wanted to accomplish. I mean, we're at 26 top 10 singles, 12 number ones. We pull this record, we're going to be at 30 top 10 singles. That means we could do back-to-back nights in any arena, play 15 songs a night, and never play the same single twice, let alone the deep cuts. So at what point do you have to accept that you've arrived and honored that? Because some people, you know, they just want a house with a white picket fence and a truck. And then they get that and they go, oh, it'd be nice to have a dog too. And then what if we had a little bit bigger of a house, but maybe we should add a car to it? And that just never ends. I want to know that our goal was to be successful in music, to have the world love our music, and to be able to take care of our families and loved ones. And we've accomplished that. So we want to be able to now enjoy that part by creating a greatest hit show and taking people down that journey with us. And that's what we're really excited about. So this song really does sum all of that up. It really is just me speaking myself as a younger version of me, and just asking what advice I would give to a young Sully, and know that the decisions I've made, I have no regrets for. And of course, the song sums itself up with a little bit of a finale. So this record ends where the first record begins. And for that reason alone, I just don't know how we could top this right now. So it saddens us, and it's been extremely emotional the whole way, because we also love what we do and we're going to miss that part of us. But we're also really looking forward to a great future and the sunset years in this band.
Congratulations on an outstanding album and an outstanding career, Sully Erna.
Thank you.